Hello guys, welcome to my new YouTube channel. My name is Taffy, but for the purposes of the channel, my name is Mangetos Autos. Alright, over here we've got 2009 Vauxhall Corsair D. Alright, it's got about 98,000 miles on the clock. Nice lady driven vehicle, and she went for MOT and it failed with two major defects. Basically, the coil spring is fractured or broken on the offside front, which is the right hand side on the front, and then shock absorber has serious fluid leak near side rear, that's the back left side. Now the good thing is the car's got no other advisories. There's no advisories at all, just those two things, and she's good to go for the MOT. So what we decided to do was to get the shocks for the back and the front. We're going to actually replace both the shocks for the rear, and then for the front, instead of just doing the coil spring alone, we're going to do the shock. And it is actually recommended that if you replace on one side, you might as well do the other side. So all in all, we're going to be replacing the two rear shocks, the two front shocks, and the front springs, just to make sure that we've done it as perfect as it can be. It is important to note that it is not a must to replace all these things at once, but it is preferred and recommended because it affects, the comfort and, the way the vehicle will be moving. So let's jack it up and let's get the work started. Right, so we've jacked up the vehicle. You need to make sure you got axle stands. Please don't just use the jack only to support the vehicle. You want to make sure you put these axle stands to make sure the vehicle is nice and secure. All right, so the next move now, we're going to remove all the wheels so that we can see what's going on under there. I'll show you just now. So the nuts, we forgot to mention, these are 17 millimeter lugs. That's all fine. For the rear shocks, what we want to do, we want to remove this one here, which should be, I think, an E18 socket. And then up there's some sockets we want to remove from the mounting. We're just going to remove this inner lining, the fender lining, and then I can show you those nuts. Alright guys, so as you can see, this is the shock that was had a fluid leak that made it fail the MOT. In any case, now we're removing the E18 that's over there, and then after we remove this E18, we're gonna go with the E16s, the two E16s on the top, and then the shock will come out. Look at that, guys. This is the shock. That's what you call a dead shock. Now, additionally, we'll just clean it up. As you can see, it's all salty and everything on top, and we'll clean the mounting as well, just to make sure everything is all good to go. We'll clean over there with a wire brush, add a little bit of brake cleaner, and then we're good to go. So right here, we're just going to remove this bolt here. All right, and then we'll install the new shock. Don't forget to take the shock cover, this cover here, and then there'll be a damper there. I'll show you. This is the right hand side shock. Let's go. Start pushing up. Start coming back up.
Start coming back up anymore.
Alright guys, so we tried to remove this one, and it's rotating obviously with the shock spindle, and I'm using a socket. I don't actually have the what you call those spanners that are bent, so they go deep in here. All right, and so what we're just gonna do is quickly just gonna grind a groove into that. I know usually they've used a parrot nose pliers, but in theory they should work, but they still slip. So we're just gonna put a groove in here with the grinder, then we can grab it with this vice clip here, and then we can remove that bolt. See you just now.
Make it wider.
Yeah. So this groove, we can hold this now, no problem. And then we'll get this sorted. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Second one is out as well. So this is the mounting. We'll also need that. And we'll take this cover. Okay, so onto the new shock. So the shocks look similar. I just want to check that the bolt goes through and through, and she does, so we're good. That's fine, like that. And then put this on top. Alright guys, so now we're returning the shocks. By the way, before we actually, can you see anything there? Before we actually put them in, we just primed them by compressing them like 3-4 times. So that's there. We're gonna have to jack up the bottom part a little bit, as you can see, just so that it can reach the shock. So we'll just use our hydraulic jack just to raise that, and then basically the rear shocks will be done. Putting back the wheel. Alright guys, so we've put back the wheel on the right rear. We changed both shocks. As you can see, we're just finishing off the return of the shocks at the back there. That's fine. Now we have to do the front springs and shocks as well. So we've removed this wheel here. All right. So basically, to remove the shock, I mean, this is the shock. Sorry, I'm using that. You can see the shock and the spring over there. We've got these bolts here, and these are 18s. You're gonna need to remove these two. Obviously, you have to remove the cables that are holding onto the shock, like that one and that one. All right. You're also going to have to remove the stabilizer links. This little bar that's going from the top to the bottom there. All right. So you can disconnect it from there, and the final thing is that there's a bolt that you need to remove on the top of the shock. I'll show you. We're gonna remove this. We're gonna actually have to remove some plastic covers over there so that we can access it. I'll show you just now. Right. So the design of this vehicle, unfortunately, is that for you to be able to remove the mounting for the shock, as you can see, let's see, that's the one in there. Let's see if we can focus on there. Yeah, the one in there. We're actually gonna have to remove this whole plastic bit, and it also includes removing the wipers. So we're gonna have to remove the wipers so that we can have access to remove this thing, and then we'll be able to remove the bolts for the mountings of the shocks at the top. Alright guys, so here we are. I want to remove these wipers. Now, because of rust and everything, they've got a tendency of being difficult to remove. Alright, so what do we do in that situation? We've already got this a long time ago. It's not very expensive. This is called a wiper remover tool. Just hold on while John shows you how we install it. So it basically grips like this, and then you can, that will go to hold, you can loosen here. I'm holding it. Yeah, that's more than enough, I guess. Then you just put it around the wiper at the bottom there. You might need to loosen it a bit more so that it grips under the wiper. Right, that's it. So now when you turns it up, it's just gonna pull the wiper out. As you can see, the amount of force he's putting, there was no taking it off easily there. I know in theory people make it seem like it's just a walk in the park, but there you go. That's what we want to do. So obviously we do that for both wipers. Cheers. Alright, so this is what it's looking like. That's the bolt for the top on the left hand side, the right hand side. Yeah, and like I said, what we want to do is to remove these two big bolts here, and that one for the stabilizer link, and the one on the top, and then the shocks come straight out, and then we can just remove the spring and put the new stuff.
To give you the chance to.
Alright, so guys, these are the 18 bolts we removed. That stabilizer link bolt we removed, it's a 16, and then over here this was here, so we got an 18 bolt, and I used an E14 socket. It should be the equivalent of a size 9 or so, but then my size 9s, 8s are not like they wouldn't be strong enough for the force line, so that's all out now. And this can now come out, and the shock will come out. Alright, as you can see, we're gonna have to remove this clip here so that we can remove it. But otherwise, as you can see, the shock is now shaking, and then we're done. Alright guys, now as you can see, the shocks is out. We removed the left. I started with the left, but I must show you the right hand one. That's removed as well. We know for MOT it failed because it was fractured, and there's the one that's fractured. It's broken there. Alright, so we need to remove the springs from the shocks. Obviously the main bolt to remove is that one on top. However, before you remove that, and this is important, you need to compress these springs. So these are our spring compressor tools. Mine are looking a little bit dry, so I'm just going to put a little bit of grease on them first before I use them, so that they flow nicely. I mean, you know, they can rotate without much friction. And I'll show you just now how to install them on the shocks. Or I can show you actually, but then I'll just drive them on my own. So you're supposed to basically put one this side like that. Alright. Now because it's broken, that's why it's not even there. Otherwise, if it wasn't broken, it was probably supposed to be able to come down there. But for now, we come and clamp it here and squeeze it as much as we can. So squeezing it is by rotating this, and then these come together, and once they've come together and then this is loose, you can see that it's left there. That's when you can remove the bolt from there. Alright guys, so this is all compressed, and just so you see, it was compressing before I loosened the bolt here. This basically was free to move around. I'll show you once again on the other one. Right, so before messing around with the new shocks, obviously I just wanted to look at it and make sure that it's identical to this one, so that if ever there's need for returns, you can do that. But as you can see, the stabilizer mounting is the same. Where you mount those cables is all the same. And if I rotate this, it's pretty much identical. So that means, yeah, we're good to go with plugging in all the new spring and yeah, to the shock. I'm actually a little bit worried on, in fact not worried, but we just want to check if the springs come with specific sides or if they're identical. So I'm gonna just show you a video right now comparing the springs as well. All right guys, I've put down the springs over here. They are pretty much identical. There's no difference. I can see where this begins. It's pretty much the same position, and if you go up, they're all the same. So when it comes to the springs, the spring can go any side, but when it comes to the shocks, they are a bit different. The left one and the right one are different. Let me show you what the one for the left looks like. So on the left hand side of the video right now, we've got the right hand side shock. So basically, if I go this way, just so that I don't get people confused. All right, so for these shocks, as you can see, the mountings are on opposite side, like for the stabilizer link, etc. So this shock here on the right is for the right hand side, and the one on the left is for the left hand side. Those ones cannot be mixed up, but like I said, the springs, they can be. So yeah, let me get to mounting these things up and show you how it's done. But it's pretty self-explanatory. When it comes to this spring here, all right, there's one side that's more tapered than the other, and so we're going to be putting it in such a way that if you notice here, all right, on the shock, there's this part here, all right. So this is where your spring comes to sit to make sure it doesn't move. So once we remove this little wire here so the shock can come up, all right, we're gonna put this over there. And then when the shock is up, we'll be able to put the shock mounting at the top. But what we're actually going to have to do before we get that far is we're actually going to have to compress this spring with the spring compressors. Unfortunately, they're in use here right now, so I'm going to remove it from here so that we can compress that spring. Then we can put it onto that. Thank you. All right, guys. So there we are. We've put the new spring and the new shock together, and as I was saying, you need to make sure it goes into that groove nicely. It might be, when you're trying to tighten up things, etc., it might not be in the right position, so you make sure you loosen it. For me, when I loosened it, it was slightly above the groove, and then I just grabbed the hammer a little bit and just give it a tap so it turned around a little bit, and then it went into position. But now it's all good and it's ready for installation back onto the vehicle. Yeah, basically putting it into the vehicle, you're gonna putting it into the vehicle, you put it up and it's gonna be in this position. All right, and everything is self-explanatory. Those are the two, this one and this one are the mountings that are supposed to they are the cables that are supposed to go into these two places here, 1, 2, and then that stabilizer link will be going onto this end here of the shock. And then when you put the shock in at the top over there, obviously this is our 18, which is gonna go above it. I'll show you, and we'll put that as well. And you tighten that down. I was using the 18 and this E14, I believe. All right, so let me get to it. So I've put the shock in. No bolts yet. These are the 18s that we're gonna be putting in here. I'll start by putting these just in place, and then raise the shock up, hold it with the bolts that's at the top up there, and then we can work on aligning this one. This one seems a bit higher than this, so we'll then sorry, just a moment. We'll use a bar like this one. When you do this, it comes down, you see, so it's not going to be a problem. So with the new shock, it didn't come with this clip here. It's a keeper just to make sure this pipe for the brakes doesn't come off and, you know, just get hit by rotation. Because obviously if it was to come off, it can be grazed by the axle. I'm not sure it's long enough to get to the disc, but obviously if it's to be come off, it will be grazed slowly and then it will start leaking the brake fluid. And when the driver tries to apply brakes, obviously they'll fail, which is highly dangerous. So this clip here from the old shock, putting it onto the new shock and making sure that doesn't come off. See you soon. There she is now. All right, so I've already done this bolt and that bolt. Only thing remaining now is to tie up, to tighten up this one. All right, so finally I'm taking everything down, guys. I put everything, you know, and I just wanted to show you a new trick. I mean, I've got that other hydraulic jack, but with this scissor jack and a size 20 socket there on my impact wrench. Watch how this goes. Beautiful.